Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scot MacTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
Don't give a presentation. Sit down, do your homework before you get there, listen, ask questions, and find out the problems. The problems then see if they fit what you happen to sell as value. Does your value proposition happen to match this? If it doesn't, great, just move on.
Move on. Hey, everybody. It is Scott. It is Wednesday. It is the holidays, and it is the Pitchwerks podcast. We've got Randy Eager and Greg Coticchia, Founder Institute, bringing free startup education to Pittsburgh on January 10th down on Grant Street. You'll remember Greg Coticchia. He was with us, some episode back in the 40s. Just a really, really engaging guest. I'm glad he came back. And he brought his friend Randy Eager, who Randy has started several companies. He's another one where if this is where the information is coming from, you'll be glad that you attended. So no, I don't mind helping them to promote the event. We're going to milk them for some information though, while they're sitting behind my microphone. Some things that you can use as you start out a new year. So before we jump into that, I have to harass and harangue. This week, let's do ratings and reviews. It's been a while since we did that one. Get into iTunes, give me a good rating or bad rating, and then defend your position. Think of it like a debate game, and you'll always win. Those ratings and reviews help people to find the show and find out whether or not it would be good for them. You know that you can always reach out to us, by the way, on social media, in case you have anything that you would like to change about this fine program in order to give us that better rating that we lust after. So let's jump into the conversation. I got Greg, I got Randy, I got Buzzy. We got the whole family together. We're going to put this thing out there. Happy New Year, everybody. All right. You gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. I want to basically, first of all, say Happy New Year to everybody. This is great. You guys coming in here and talking about something that I think more people need to know about.
January 10th.
January 10th. And what is the event? I don't know that I actually even knew what the event was about.
It's all about the first step, ideation.
Oh, wow. Boy. A lot of people, when you get further down the process, right? When you get deeper into it and you start talking to people about how should you break up founder shares and those kinds of things, I think that thins the crowd. But this should be a pretty big crew then. This should be people talking about initial concept. Is that the subject?
It is. There's a panel discussion, and we'll be having, about 2 hours of an event. And this is all about promoting the kickoff of Founder Institute.
So this timing is actually great.
It is perfect.
I'm glad you guys are here. Where is the event happening?
It's at Truefit. They're at 500 Grant Street, downtown.
Are they really?
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Oh.
It's beautiful space.
Gorgeous.
Oh, that's a great place to be. That's the beating heart of the whole place, right? That's where the city county building is. That's where the mayor's office is, for God's sake. Okay, not in the same building. Tell me a little bit about the Founder Institute. What is it and why would people sort of want to participate in its events?
So Founder Institute is a Silicon Valley-based educational organization, 150 chapters worldwide, roughly 60 countries.
Yeah.
And we all follow the same kind of format where it's all about education. So actually pre-idea education. So really the earliest, it's folks who have not started something before, certainly, but dream to. And we do these things on Tuesday evenings. The class meets, but Founder Institute, let's call it corporate, provides all of the content for the course.
There's like a curriculum from the mothership.
It is. Yeah. It's on version 4.5, I believe. So they've worked really hard on this over the years. And we take 30 plus students through the process from ideation all the way to forming a company, and they'll be ready for really they could be raising money after, but really the point is they're now ready for an accelerator or even an incubator kind
you
of
can hand
program.
them off at this point to somebody
Yes.
else who will care and feed them.
Yes.
Because as you said, and I need to clarify a couple points. I confess my ignorance, so just bear with me. These are by rule, maybe not like they've never done anything before. So in other words, if I've started something in the past, I'm not necessarily invited. You're shaking your head.
No. Certainly everyone's invited.
Yeah.
We do start in the beginning with ideation.
Yeah.
And some folks will show up with ideas and some won't.
Okay.
The beauty of this, though, is, all folks are welcome. And it is something where you can have a day job, work on this at your own pace, but there's very specific topics, and we meet every Tuesday for a specific topic.
Do you have a class picked right now, or do you pick them from this event?
No, it is.
Or is there a third answer? Because I just realized that is not the entire universe of possibilities.
Let me suggest a third one, which is we're having 6 or so free events to everyone, wide-ranging events, all to promote Founder Institute and to encourage folks to actually fill out applications.
Well, that probably helps in terms of just the getting to know you piece, because
this is
I'm
what
not
it's
sure that, so I'm fairly familiar with you guys, right? And I would be comfortable with the knowledge that I have listening to you, following you through the curriculum. But if I'm right, you're not necessarily talking to people who have done this prior research. You're talking to people that may just have picked up this show, for example, right? And they're like, okay, well,
who are these guys?
There's a few different types of people I can think you were probably trying to reach out to, right? And they probably overlap with who listens to the show. So let me see if I can guess them before you tell me, right? I have to believe there's a certain number of people who are already sort of gainfully employed, probably in like a sales function where they've seen that they can create value, like they've got to go explain value to someone else, and they say, you know what? It's weird for me that the company keeps so much of the money. Maybe I could, step into the role of the company. I've got to believe there's a group of people who are fairly recently graduated from, some sort of higher learning, and they're slamming into this wall that these kids are hitting, right? Where the upper tiers, the upper age brackets aren't retiring out. And they're very smart kids, right? And they've got a sharp set of tools, but maybe the opportunities aren't there for everybody. And I'm going to guess there's probably that person who's been nursing an idea maybe a little bit too long, right? Where 10 years ago they said, this would be a really good thought, but they didn't know where to get the input, the wisdom, the mentorship. Those are 3 guesses. Does that feel right?
Those could be all of them. I think the thing that Randy and I saw in bringing Founder Institute to Pittsburgh is that there is just overall, no matter if it's those types or others, right, that there is great local accelerators that exist in Pittsburgh. We're very fortunate to have them. Many of them are our partners, right? But there is need for more, which is a good problem to have. Not only is there need for more because of the selectivity of some of our really world-class accelerators, like an Alpha Lab Gear, and
who are
others.
killing it right now.
Absolutely, and you've got Ascender and all these others. But that is not sufficient for the need in the marketplace, right? It's a supply-demand issue, and this brings a different kind of accelerator to Pittsburgh that fills that need for those that may participate in those. Mm-hmm. I think you see, and Randy, I think you agree with this. You see people not just in going into one accelerator; they've gone into several, right, to get themselves prepared. And so the good housekeeping seal of approval doesn't come from one place.
Right. I have seen this trend. I honestly, and tell me if you agree with me, I'm a little bit bothered by how many people are joining multiple accelerators just because I think they're looking for something that they're not getting.
It's either that or their idea is not good enough to launch past these. It's good enough to get in and work on, but they're not able to raise money for some reason.
Interesting. Yeah. So one of the things that is sort of near and dear to my heart is the fact that we have a different culture here than, and I'm going to pick on the Bay Area. You said that, this is based out of Silicon Valley, right? And I'm not taking a shot at the Founder Institute by saying this, but I think, we're all local people here. You understand what I'm about to say, in that we have our own complexion, right? There's a preference for machine learning here. There's a preference for robotics here. There's a very, very strong emphasis on social good in like social entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things, if I were in charge of promoting this, I would definitely want to make sure people knew that those were part of the recipe, because there is a pushback around here about Silicon Valley and sort of like the idea that the Bay Area way of doing things isn't the only way to do things, or it isn't necessarily the right way of doing things. I don't know if you have any opinion on that or not.
The beauty here is that the content, I believe, is solid.
Yeah.
And works worldwide. But we, Greg and I, get to put our own color onto the content and the way we work with the students, the founders.
That's great. Yeah.
So, and that comes through with mentors. We have almost 30 mentors.
Wow.
Most of which are CEOs or have been CEOs or play a critical role in the ecosystem.
Right.
To help us.
Yeah, I was about to emphasize, I think all those 30 mentors that we recruited that are going to be intimately working with companies that get formed from this are local, right? And so I would agree with you, though. I mean, we're not trying to I remember it was a couple of years ago they tried to someone came up with the brilliant idea of calling the Strip District, we should call it the Silicon Strip, and I just about vomited. And because it's not, and
and that's just one of a number of reasons why not to do it.
Correct. And so, we're going to take a well-known brand and curriculum and put a Pittsburgh spin on it and apply it with Pittsburgh people and Pittsburgh resources.
But work hard and smart and work tirelessly to get customer feedback.
Yeah, I love it.
Do it the right way. I mean, it bothers. So Pittsburgh is, we're hitting it hard in Pittsburgh, and there's so many more startups today than there were when I started my first one. Greg probably has the even more history there than I do. But the amount of capital hasn't changed all that much.
It feels that
over
way.
The years.
Yeah, it feels like it's roughly the same groups with roughly the same agendas, right? Agenda, anyway.
So they have to hit it harder.
Yeah,
and this kind of program will help them differentiate from and be smarter about customers, markets, and strategy.
I love the fact that you're doing this. And Greg, you started to jump in there.
No, I was going to say, Randy and I had a conversation with another individual earlier today, and he made a point that I think is really important, going back to our discussion about, what kind of people participate in these programs, or if they're in multiple programs, everything. And in the backdrop of raising capital, which is you have to go through a program like this or an accelerator in order, if you're going to go out and raise money.
Because it's such a complicated thing to understand anymore.
Well, to be prepared and be able to Randy's point of being able to actually, what you were able to get away with on the back of a napkin 10 years ago is not going to be sufficient to raise capital. And if capital is tight or the same as it always was, or whatever you want to call it, for you to stand out and be able to raise that capital, you need to have the answers to these questions and show and differentiate yourself as best as possible. So going through an accelerator or a couple accelerators is going to help prep and get you there.
That is a fantastic answer. During that answer, I realized that I need to give you an in-person high five for being a newly minted author. Which has nothing to do with what you said.
Yes, but that's at www.startyourstartupright.com.
Congratulations on that.
A wonderful book, by the way. But thank you for saying that. I
bought
published.
it. I read it.
And did you
like it? And I
it?
think, I don't know if I was the first one, but I definitely wanted to be among the first. And one of the things, all seriousness, one of the things that I laughed to myself was you understand the reader, right? Because when you read it, it's not peacock feathers about, well, let me tell you about this time when I was very important. I mean, I've always been very important, but this was a time when I was particularly important.
I never was important.
No, but so I've read a lot of books where it's quote unquote real examples from my career, and he's always the hero of the story. This CEO didn't understand what I brought to the table, and I went into his office and I plunked my employee badge down and I said, I'm out of here if you don't start getting things right. You know, I've had it up to here with books where it's like, I just coincidentally became the hero of the story, right? And I also don't like the idea that a book needs to be heavy in order to be a good book. Right. Your book is a lean, quick read. I think it probably only took me, I don't know, let's say 2.5 hours. And that includes putting it down and picking it back up and trying to remember like where I left it. And
I refer to it as a bathroom read.
Well, you need to stop helping. You desperately need to stop helping. Just let me do this, okay? You be the founder guy. I'll be the pitch guy. Randy will be the sensible one that we put in front of like investors.
Real people.
Yeah, like when we need to look good, we put him up there, right? This can all
Good looking,
work.
looks nice in a jacket.
Dude, for real. All right.
Okay, sorry, but thank you very much for the book. And you know, it's selling briskly.
No, finish your point.
And you can find it on Amazon.
No, it is a good book.
No, your point.
$9.99. It's beautiful.
That you should be up in front of people? For real. I totally believe that.
That he wrote it in a way that was more engaging, and it wasn't the.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, seriously, for saying that. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, my friend Jason Patorti, he was on the show, I don't know, months ago. He lives out there in the Bay Area, and he turned me on to a book called Venture Deals, which was because I didn't understand maybe all the follow-on funding rounds. And he's like, look, this is the place where everybody else learned it, right? It's written like Venture Deals, and take that as the compliment it's intended to be, because I don't necessarily have enough bandwidth to sit down and read somebody's epic, like I'm Homer and this is the Iliad, right? Like just tell me what I want to know and leave me alone, right? Just let me put it on my Kindle. And anyway, so here we are kicking off 2018, right? You're sitting on something that you think might be a startup. Your New Year's resolution is going to be that I'm going to do something about that startup, that egg that I've been sitting on. What's the first thing they do? Greg, I'm going to go to you first. What is the first thing they should do?
Register and come on January 10th.
Okay. What is the second thing they should do?
And come to Founder Institute.
The Founder Institute, Truefit at 500 Grand Street?
At 500 Grand Street.
Over by the mayor?
Over by the mayor.
At 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah, 6 p.m. We got to make sure they know that.
And once they're there, they'll feel a lot better about their idea. Trust me.
Maybe.
No. And what's the first thing
But
they
they've got to get there. Like, seriously, all joking aside, right? Some people have that imposter thing where they're like, look, I'm not real.
Right.
So what's the first thing?
One of my posts on LinkedIn and kind of a chapter in my book is also people often come up to me and say, I have this idea for a product, and what do you think of that? And they may be thinking about it for their company or starting a company around it. And I usually say, forget about your idea, forget about your product. You got to turn that around, and you've got to say what problem you're solving and for who.
Okay, so that's a good one.
Start with that. So don't start with, I've got this really cool idea for a water bottle cap, and it's gonna be green and it's gonna snap on. And what do you think of that idea? Do you think I could raise money? Do you think we could build a company?
This is the question people start with a lot of times when they're a little turned around.
And I say, well, wait a minute. What problem are you solving? Who has that pain, right? Or who can benefit from that gain? How many of those people are out there today? How do they solve that problem today? Is there a big problem with how they solve it today? Is it good enough? Because it may be good enough. Maybe you have a better way, but it's not 10 times better, or not 10 times better worth the extra $50 they're going to spend, or $50,000 they're going to spend, whatever it is, right? But it all starts with thinking about the problem, not the
thing that you thought you invented.
Correct.
So, all right, second question.
Which is, if I could add, which is why the term pivot was invented.
Yeah, because then you stay on the trail that the customer left you instead of the thing that you thought you had to force into the market.
Absolutely correct.
Second question's for you, Randy. A lot of the graybeards in the community will say like, oh, well, that person didn't want it bad enough, right? And I think they treat it like, well, this person turned around at adversity, so therefore they're not cut out for it, right? I tend to think it's more just that person thought they had good insight, they had good mentorship, they had good whatever. So what is it that is quick to discourage people in the early going is really what I'm asking you. That early negative pushback that makes them, just sort of run back to their job.
So a couple of things are happening all at the same time. Building on what Greg said, you learn very quickly, depending on which avenue you choose or which market, which industry you choose, it's hard as hell to find who is going to be the potential customer.
Okay.
So that's every startup is a unique entity,
right.
But frequently it's difficult to find who your customer is going to be, let alone get them on the phone or meet with them in person to ask them all those problem questions.
Mm-hmm.
If your statement of he just didn't work hard, he or she just did not work hard enough, I think this separates the boys from the men in this scenario where it is really hard to meet with enough people to really understand what the problem is.
Let me dig at that for a second, because I don't think necessarily if you're just thinking about this, you fully understand the depth of the answer that you just got from Randy, right? So I'm thinking of a particular startup whose name I'm going to leave out of the conversation because it's immaterial, right? They were thinking about whether or not to go direct to the end user, to go to a distributor, like sell to the distributor, and then the distributor resells it to the end user, or to sell to somebody who was sort of like a remixer, like a systems integrator that isn't really a distributor. It's not like a box mover. They're more like a company that takes this one product and pairs it up with some 1 to 10, 50 other products to produce a complete system, right? Just knowing who in that circuit is actually writing you the check, I think is part of what you're saying. Yes? Do I want to sell through distribution? Do I want to sell directly to the end user? Does it make sense? Can I distribute? Are these skills that I even possess?
So this completely depends on the product.
Right.
But for the most part, the answer lies with the customer.
Yes.
How do they want to buy?
Mm-hmm.
And frequently the pushback you get as a startup, I have been there, where the customer is very large. It's a critical purchase. The last thing they want to rely on is a 5-person startup. So they give you no choice but to buy through one of their pre-approved distributors.
Right.
Because they're not going to create a new account for you.
You can't get into the vendor book, right?
So you're forced to go through one of their known channels.
Which is
has
vetted.
Insurance, that it's a real business, they
Right.
trust them. So that's one aspect. Me personally, I've always been on the technology, hard technology, sciencey, material software side. So I've always had this problem of how do the customers want to buy and having to solve that. Equilibrium is a consulting practice where I bring the years of being a product manager, of driving products through to commercialization, making all these decisions that we're talking about, and just love it. And so I've been taking this knowledge, experience to mid-sized, small companies, helping them find new markets for existing products or develop new products for new problems and new markets.
So you actually know this even like up close right now in the current state, how many people are struggling with the customer question and problem, because as they try new markets, as they try new things, they have to be at least bugging you like, come on, man, shouldn't we be looking at direct sales over the web with Shopify or whatever? Yeah.
It's the, sometimes it's more basic than that. Is it just a product feature enhancement, or is it a real product? Is it really a new market? Have you really talked to the customer? So even though you're a larger company, you think you know these things, but sometimes
Yeah,
maybe not.
Going
You
back,
kind of actually, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, going back to your original question about, I think it was along the lines of, what do people think they know that they don't know?
Yeah.
I think one of the things early on, going back to this whole idea of identifying the customer and what the problem is because people are in love with their idea and therefore in love with the product that solves the problem, that they also become extremely wedded to that, and they get frustrated when everybody doesn't see the same vision, and they don't really understand the customer journey of how they, again, to both your conversation about, how do they buy things today? How do they solve the problem today? How do they procure? How much money do they spend? Who's all involved with that? And you really have to spend time understanding all that and understand then your idea within that process, right? It's not that you can't change the way that they buy it, but you have to understand if you do that, what is, again, the risk and the cost associated with creating that new way of buying things.
I think, and this poor man has been dead for a couple of years now, and I still keep picking on him. His name is Steve Jobs. You may have heard of him, right? I think people took the wrong clues, and I've said this a few times on the show now. They took the wrong clues from that story, right? It wasn't about how someone can invent new things in their eyes. It was, these people take the lesson as someone can bully the market into what they want the market to buy, right? And a bunch of people, I hope that's not catching. Let's leave it at that, right?
No, I that worries me because they go from Steve Jobs and then what's the next thing they do? They go to the Henry Ford. If I asked people what they wanted, they'd say a faster horse, right? And so,
it justifies me as dictator.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting. I think that it's new to, relatively new to entrepreneurs and building products, but it's not new to other creative and disciplined arts. For instance, over the weekend I watched this Ed Sheeran, how he wrote the "Shape of You" song. Mm-hmm. Absolutely fascinating, right? So what did he do? There's some group of musicians. One was a professional a songwriter. Ed kind of considers himself not. He's kind of like your ADD crazy artist.
He just kind of goes where the energy is.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see how they built this, got feedback, they try something else. Oh, no, drums don't work. Oh, we're going to try something with the guitar. Oh, how's that feel? Let's let people hear how that sounds, get some feedback, go back, rewrite the song, change the lyrics again. Oh, those lyrics don't. Oh, those may be offensive lyrics. Oh, we're going to change those. Oh, and they did this iterative building of both professional discipline songwriting plus creativity in building a song as three people and getting feedback. And I thought to myself, this is the way products get built, right? It's the same way.
Right. All right. Now, we're going to do one more of these New Year's kickoff questions, and it's not going to be about the Founder Institute event at 500 Grant Street.
On January 10th.
On January 10th at 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m. Be there with your idea on.
Do you know, and Randy, no disrespect to you, okay? But this guy is literally like one of three people that could have gotten away with this episode, okay?
Oh, no.
Like you do not understand how hard it would have been for anybody else to get me to plug this so shamelessly. The last question, and this is for both of you, deals more with our sales-oriented listeners, okay? People who maybe don't think they have that startup in them, okay? Because, both of you have been responsible for, again, the futures of companies, the futures of the people that work at those companies, right? You have responsibilities. And I think salespeople, a lot of times, this is the time when they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to make my numbers this year. I'm going to do it. We need to talk to them about how they can do their job better, right? As people who are the responsible chief executives at the tops of companies, what do you wish salespeople did when they were trying to get some of your time? What was the right way to approach you? What is the right way to approach you?
Ooh, what's the right way to approach you as the new year starts and they're
I'm trying to
their
sell
goals?
You something, Greg.
Oh,
how do you want
trying
me to do
sell me? Oh, well, I will say this. I don't want a presentation. I want a conversation.
Okay.
That is one of the most important things, because going back to some of the things we're talking about here for Founder Institute, and what makes a great company to start is it starts with the problem.
Right.
It's the same thing for great salespeople. What do great salespeople do? Not like the stereotype of, talk. No. They listen.
People think that it's about being slick. It's
It
not.
isn't. It's about great listening skills, because what you really want to understand is what are the problems that this person has in their business, and do some work before you get there too. Don't stand up. Don't show up and throw up. Don't give a presentation. Sit down. Do your homework before you get there. Listen. Ask questions. And find out the problems. The problems, then see if they fit what you happen to sell as value. Does your value proposition happen to match this? If it doesn't, great, just move on.
Move on.
It's okay. You can still have the relationship, and maybe there'll be something somewhere else along the line from your company or a need that they'll have in the future. It's fine. That's part of the qualification process.
Yeah.
But you're going to hit on one where your value prop is going to match their pain, and then there's an opportunity for both parties.
Industry knowledge, bring value to me of, maybe we call it benchmarking.
Yeah.
But what do other companies who look like me, who I don't have access to, what are they doing?
I was just going to ask you that as a follow-up. I was going to say, like, if you were Coke and I came to you and I said, this is what Pepsi is doing, is that the door opener? I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is.
I've always loved that move. I mean, if you know and you can present it, you're not stealing secrets or whatever, right? It's totally above board. You can just say, so this is what Pepsi's doing, and if you're interested, I'm selling.
Yeah, this is how we've solved the problem I think you have in all these other companies.
So, guys, I heard a rumor that there's an event on the 10th of January. It's at 500 Grant Street, where Truefit has its offices. It's not far from where the mayor does his thing. It's on the 10th, which is right around the corner.
It is.
Literally everyone is invited that has an idea for a startup, and they just want to hear how the train gets started. Anything else you want to say?
Head to the website.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, fi.co. And when you're on the homepage, look to the top right. Make sure you enter Pittsburgh to get to our chapter. You can see our partners. You can see all the mentors and the schedule.
Yeah. Now this ultimately, after you do like 6 of these, you said you will take on like a regular class that you're going to develop. When does that start?
That doesn't start until
March.
Much later.
Yeah, much later. March.
Yeah.
So it's 3.5 months beginning in March, but you can fill out applications today.
Because there's going to be other events, is what you were saying, right?
Absolutely.
So let's just assume for one moment, right, that somebody just can't make it to the 10th. They've got plenty of time ramp to get to the other events
that they can come to.
We want them at the first event because it's where everybody's already at.
Correct.
Like that, the ideation thing is where you kind of get some input as far as like, this is how ideas sort of start you on your journey. But if I have to be out of the country, then I just plain have to be out of the country, and there will be other events, and they'll find them the same way.
They will. And we run events about every other week.
Okay. And
so they happen pretty quickly.
I can't remember. Are we charging for this event or are we not?
No, none of these events.
Okay, so these are all free events. Okay, fantastic. I do think people should turn out for the event. I mean, just, again, knowing you guys, knowing that you're not just puff and smoke, definitely people need to be there if they have even the first clue that they might want to go down this road. I definitely recommend that people get involved with the Founder Institute. fi.co. All right, that's the end of the ride. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget, January 10th at 6 p.m., it's a free event. I'm going to try to make it out. If you are able to make it out, I hope you say hi to me. That would be great. This actually sounds like a really great resource for everybody that would listen to this show. This is the first of these 6 educational events to get people sort of started on what they want to build. And, I'll vouch for these guys and the fact that, they're not those sort of preening peacock startup founders. They're the ones who are actually, rolling up their sleeves and getting to work. And I can't put, my vouch on that hard enough. So, hope you can make it to that. Have a great new year. I hope to catch you on the other side of it. Take care of yourselves in the meantime.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and MacTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, pitchwerks.